Hey, Jason.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Just finished. Yeah.
You need a moment?
All right. Sorry, I had both streams playing. Go ahead, JD.
Okay.
So what's on the menu? Look at the title. Vegan claims are false and misleading. I was very sporadic with everything going on with Reasonable Vegan, doing my content and other things were happening. So can you give me kind of a little bit of a quick update how this thing with Reasonable Vegan evolved? Or I don't want to tell you what to talk about, but I'm kind of curious.
Well, it started with him farming my comment section for live stream guests.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of turned the tables on him and invited him to come on a live stream. He came out on a live stream. We had a really nice conversation. Although he was praising regenerative grazing systems. I went back, and after that talk was over, I had already watched a lot of his videos to kind of see where he was coming from.
Yeah.
And then I discovered afterwards that according to him, he used to be very militant in his approach, and he had decided that was not going to make a vegan world happen, that it was actually running people away. So he decided to develop a theory, according to what I remember him saying, was that he was going to approach it in a kinder, gentler way, so to speak. And I'm paraphrasing, but he said something along the lines of, tell the non-vegans what they want to hear. Make compromises, meet them halfway, but do so with the ultimate goal of destroying their menu. Do so with the ultimate goal of making them criminals for eating meat. And so he's still championing this idea that human beings can thrive on a 100% plant-based diet.
Mm-hmm.
I told him, or he in my comments was making the claim that there was a general consensus amongst scientists that a 100% plant-based diet was appropriate for all humans at all life stages. And so I challenged him on that, and I said, who are you talking about specifically? Are you talking about a specific organization? And he said, yeah, I'm talking about the
Dietetics Association.
the American Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And I said, that position paper number one is a opinion piece.
Yeah.
There's also I found out later, I hadn't gone through all of the citations that they use in that paper, but I've got a subscriber that's got a great video that I'm going to have him on. We're going to go through that entire video, but he goes through all the citations one by one
Yeah.
and the vast majority of the citations are actually anti-vegan. So they're actually, uh, they have this long list of citations that makes it look like their opinion
Ooh,
is well-founded. But if you look at each one of those citations, 99% of them are anti-vegan in their conclusion. But what I told him was that
Sorry,
paper,
too. They're funded by like junk food companies. They've been criticized about all sorts of.
Nestle,
Yeah.
Pepsi, yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go.
And so I told him that one of the primary scientists that had published that position paper had recently died in 2022 at the age of 51 from cancer, as I understand it. There was a post on Twitter with a screenshot showing that this vegan activist by the name of Chef AJ had um, had told someone that this person had died from colon cancer, which is ironic because this lady that had authored this position paper had wrote many articles about how meat eating kills people via colon cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually did get on Twitter and I posted a message to Chef AJ asking, trying to get her to confirm. Did you confirm that Susan Levin had died from colon cancer? And she completely ignored my question and continued to make further posts. So I know she saw my post and seems to have just dismissed it and doesn't. I'm guessing she probably got in a bit of trouble for disclosing that information because it's very damaging to the vegan movement, in my opinion.
Yeah.
To disclose the fact that one of the primary activists who published that position paper dies of a disease that she said basically was claiming that veganism would prevent. So I told him about that paper being expired in 2019.
Okay.
They haven't made a very visible public announcement that they no longer hold a position on vegetarian and vegan diets being appropriate at any life stage, other than a very obscure Twitter post. And I did email them. You can find this information in videos that I've made and in my community section on my YouTube channel, where I've posted the emails that I had with the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, asking them why didn't they make a more visible statement about them no longer, about that paper being expired and how they're no longer having a position on vegan and vegetarian diets being appropriate at any stage of life. And they wouldn't give me a straight answer. They would only say that they were working on putting together a panel to review the data. Okay. And so as we speak, the Academy has no position. And so Reasonable Vegan was making the claim that they did. And so I told him that paper's expired. He emailed me and he said, if you can show me proof that that's expired, I think that's something that I feel compelled to. And again, I'm paraphrasing what he said. I feel compelled.
In the community, right? That one?
Yeah.
I have been following the community, so I was like, I caught that one.
He said, if that's true, that's something that I need to tell the vegans because we're always citing that paper. Mm-hmm. And I think that he did that because he thought that it was going to be a gotcha moment, that he thought that he had me in a corner and I was going to say, well, actually, I don't have any proof of that. So And so
Yeah.
he thought that was going to be an opportunity to go, I got you, Garland Farms. You said it was expired, but the paper's still relevant because it's still on PubMed.
Yeah. You would
Well,
think that he'd catch on. I think that JD is a guy who chooses his words extremely carefully. I've noticed that. You're very with your wording and stuff like that. So if you're making a statement, and I'm kind of like that, but I just do PowerPoints. If I'm making a statement, usually at least I'll get the context. I might be wrong, but you'll know where I'm getting it from. So I think you better. It's been a couple of times there. He's not learning his lesson.
no, he's not. And in fact, he messed up again today. Um, but anyhow, I did prove to him that the Academy no longer has a position on vegetarian or vegan diets at any stage of life, and um, so I waited a little while for him to mention it,
Yeah.
at least in a community post, but there was nothing. And
Yeah.
so he was busy farming my comment section for guests again, and I said, you're always doing this, farming my comments section for guests. I'm going to ask you to refrain from doing that until you go ahead and
Yes.
do what you said you were going to do and inform your vegan viewers about this paper, this position paper that you're always citing. It's no longer relevant. It's no longer current. It's expired, and the Academy no longer has a position. And the fact that it's still published on PubMed is more of it's like an archive of an expired paper. It's
Yep.
archived, but that doesn't mean that just because PubMed still has it up does not mean that it's still current or it hasn't expired.
Yeah.
In fact, if you try to go to the Academy's website where they had that position paper um, posted, published, you'll go to that link and there's a 404 error. It says this page is no longer available. So they took it down from their website, but they haven't actually gone to PubMed and so forth. And that was part of my beef with them. That's why I was emailing them is you guys need to make this clear because there's still doctors out there who are giving people the advice that a vegan diet is appropriate at all stages of human life. And meanwhile, you guys haven't even renewed that paper. And as I understand it, the first version of that came out in 1987. So every few years they'd renew it, and this time they chose not to. I suspect it has something to do with one of the main authors dying from colon cancer. I don't know that's a fact, but I suspect that has something to do with it.
Okay.
And now we're getting into the B12 issue.
I noticed that the blood test. I saw that on the community.
First Reasonable Vegan said that he was posting his MMA results, which will show a deficit of functional B12, but he posted his serum cobalamin test results, which were above normal. So that's actually a red flag. If it's above normal, you can actually have a condition where your body's not able to get rid of excess vitamin B12. So his is actually above the optimal range as far as his serum cobalamin. And then I called.
Just a question. So, like the other test, is this a test that would kind of give more evidence of the cellular concentration of B12, which is what really counts, as opposed to just serum? Like it's a more accurate one, the one that he said he would do, but he did the serum instead. Is that what was happening, or I'm getting it wrong? Or
Well, let me show you.
Okay.
You've almost got it right. Let me see if I can pull this up. All right, can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. so this was the first test that he posted, and I don't know whether he was baiting me or whether he just didn't know that this wasn't what he had claimed it was. But he says, about a week ago, a non-vegan subscriber to this channel asked me to get an MMA blood test and share the results. And this sentence is relevant. I guess it's the blood test that non-vegans view as truly testing B12 levels. I set this up and decided to test my vitamin D as well. Garland Farms has already mentioned to me that my bivalve consumption.
What's
So
that?
he'd been eating clams,
Okay.
which is the one food with the highest amount of bioactive B12 known to man, right?
Mm.
So
So how is he
if you,
vegan eating clams?
yeah, exactly. He
Just
says,
before you start, right? By the way, one of my colleagues at the hospital retired, right? So there's like just junk food everywhere, and one of my colleagues is vegan, and he became vegan right when I had started the keto like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was like war. We had to stop. Like, we're not allowed to talk together in a hospital about anything about nutrition because that's how heated it was. So, anyways, I'm there, and I'm like, I'm fasting, so I'm like, no, no. They're all, come on, eat. I'm like, no, 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 it's okay. The vegan decides, oh, well, for the retirement, I'm going to, make an exception. And he had like cake, which had like eggs and milk. And I was just smirking. I was like, that was a wonderful gift for me.
yeah, yeah, it's like if there's guys whose their sport is there's a sport called what is it, deep diving or something, where they try to they
Just
try to go, yeah, they see how long they can stay underwater.
yeah.
It's a very dangerous sport, uh, which is kind of like veganism, where you're going without nutrition. You're refraining from a long list of essential nutrients. And for a vegan to say, I've been vegan for 8 years, um, except, a few weeks ago I had some clams. And so now I'm going to go get my B12 tested, and the results I'm going to attribute to a 100% plant based diet. So that's kind of like one of those divers saying that he spent 10 minutes underwater, except you find out that he came up for air a few times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I've
So
seen. Oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, when this vegan first started, at one point he was like eating some animal food, and the colleague points out, "Hey, I thought you were vegan." And he was like, "Oh, what do you want me to do? Starve?" So I'm like, So I'm like, okay, so I think this person might be someone who is going to always try and eat vegan, but he happens to be at a place where there's no vegan food. He'll be like, "Well, I'm not going to starve," and he'll eat it. That's what I think, and that's kind of like what you've said is like the majority of vegans are all liars. They're all always, they're all slipping in some form of animal food. These people that say that they've been 8 years vegan and things like that, which obviously Mr. Clam Man and Mr. I'm not going to starve. So
Yeah. Well, I want you to look closely at this is his B12 level, and um, it's 1100 was
yeah.
his measurement. The standard range you see below that is 211 to 911.
Mm-hmm.
Some sources will say 200 to 900. This is the only one I've seen that says this 211 to 911. Most
Mm-hmm.
of the other sources, the range is between 200 and 900.
Yeah.
But look at his. His is above the standard range. That's a relevant fact, and let me show you why. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Abnormally high vitamin B12 status is anything over 900 pg per ml. This result may suggest liver or kidney problems, diabetes, or certain forms of leukemia. Okay.
Yeah. So he's bragging about his 1100 value when that's actually something to be concerned about.
Jeez.
Okay.
He knows. I hope that obviously you showed this, so at least he knows.
I think I did. I'm showing it now just to make sure, but
Yeah.
knowing him, he will not address this at all.
Well,
He's
as long as he sees that, and then it's like it's his choice if he doesn't want to go to the doctors or anything. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm surprised that his doctor didn't mention something to him.
it's a family
You know,
doctor.
yeah,
Family doctors.
and I'll go ahead and repeat the disclaimer I've said before is that nothing I ever say is medical advice. I'm not giving you nutritional advice. I'm not giving you medical advice. All I'm doing is telling you, showing you what I've found and what I think. And by no means should you model your actions based on what I think. You make your own decisions based on what you think or what your doctor thinks. All I'm doing is showing you what's published out there regarding the facts and the issues that we're discussing. So he's bragging that his B12 status is like fantastic, and I beg to differ. I don't think it's fantastic. I think by having a B12 status that's 1100, that's considerably higher than 900. And I would be very concerned about my liver, my kidneys. He certainly seems to be me. Uh, from what I can tell, he certainly looks overweight, if not clinically obese. So diabetes might actually be an issue here. I don't know that to be a fact, but it could be.
What
In
was
fact,
the joke? What was the joke about Oreo cookies or something? I saw somewhere it was written.
oh
Is
well,
he self-admitted Oreo junkie or?
yeah, he was claiming that Oreos were. I have a video about this. He was claiming that Oreos are vegan, and so I went through the ingredients, showing how the the ingredients that go into an Oreo require um, a long list, about 100 different deadly pesticides that are killing insects, mammals, reptiles,
Mhm.
um, fish, amphibians, birds. Um, so, whether or not killing all of these animals is truly vegan is debatable. These days, the vegans are bringing out this new magic phrase called negative rights violations. So they say, well, yeah, our the crop agriculture that produces the items on the vegan menu kills gargantuan amounts of animals, but those animals are guilty of trespassing. So they're the ones that are actually guilty of rights violations. Whereas when we kill them, or when the farmers that produce our food kills them, they deserve it because they're breaking the law.
Yeah,
They're infringing on our rights. And so
yeah,
it's okay for us to kill them. Their deaths don't matter.
yeah,
And this is the state of the modern vegan activists, where they no longer claim, well, they do, they'll claim it. What they'll do is they'll claim to you that you're eating a diet that's immoral because you're
yeah,
having to kill animals to procure your food. And then when you point that out, that the vegan menu also requires animal death and suffering, in fact, more animal death and suffering, then they fall back and they say, okay,
yeah,
yeah, you might be right about that, but these deaths are not the result of a rights violation, whereas the animals you kill are the result of a rights violation. So,
yeah. Can I? Were you finished, or did you need to say
no, go
something?
ahead.
No, do you mind if I tell the viewers like what I had tried to say to Caffrey and his response and stuff like that?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah. So, anyways, right now I have the 32 chickens, so I'm going to be having 32 chickens, laying 32 eggs per day. I eat a lot of eggs and stuff like that. So my next plan would be Depending on my finances, I'll have 2-3 people if even needed. I'm going to the local farmer and I'm going to purchase a cow that's grass fed, that's local, that I see, mooing and walking around in the grass. And maybe I would do a pig and a lamb. We are all pretty much low carb, very low carb. We eat one meal a day as a whole family and stuff like that. So what I was trying to tell McCaffrey was, look, if I am consuming the chickens, eggs, I'm not killing them at the end. They're being treated like pets. I'm not killing them. So I have 32 eggs, and then I'll kill 3 other things: the cow, the pig, and the lamb, and that will feed my family for the way we eat 2 years, if not more. So within multiple, like even 1 year, 3 deaths. And these 3 deaths are rapid because the deaths of these cows and pig and lambs are done locally. They're not shipped for hours in trucks and stuff like that. So I thought that I had a very, very good argument saying, hey, I'm causing only 3 deaths for well over a year. These animals were ethically raised. So I said, and there's the aspect of, I asked him, how many indirect animal deaths in the wild do you think you because you're eating, how many deaths? He said 1,000 wild animals.
Yep, exactly.
So I was like, dude, like in my head, all it needed to be was, it doesn't matter. The question with the way I set it up was this: knowing that suffering is not only about the intensity, it's also about the duration. Okay, I think that's a wonderful equation to say how much suffering is occurring, intensity and duration. And it seems like the old definition was to minimize as much as is practical the suffering and stuff like that. Exploitation, I think it used to say. So I was like, dude, look at this. I'm like, I am creating for my whole family these 3 deaths. We low carb it and stuff like that. We intermittent fast. I said, if we look at how much we fast, it could be 2 to 3 months, like 2 months easily per year that we're not consuming. I said, this is a lower carbon footprint. This saves money. This minimizes the suffering, because even if that guy had 4 or 3, the same number of deaths per year, his animals die from rodenticides, being bleeding to death over days. Multiple animal generations eat it. They become sick, shooting around. So I said, like, all of your unintentional deaths are horrible deaths. They're getting, maybe they don't even die. They just have a part of their leg ripped off during seasons, or they get shot and they manage to escape, but they die over days. So it doesn't matter. Suffering is duration and intensity. Even those 3, even if they had 1 death, that 1 death is way more duration than my 3 deaths, and it is way more intense. Therefore, that's why now they have to change the definition to this negative rights violation kind of thing, because now they realize that actually, who would have known eating only animals is the most ethical thing for animals? Mm-hmm. That's what I gotta say. And this guy denied everything, and I'm glad everyone knows that he,
Yeah, it's like I told those guys. I told McCaffrey and I told Carson, Reasonable Vegan, that these mental gymnastics that you're performing, it may seem to you in your little circle of vegan activists that you're getting one in on me or getting one in on the carnies. But the truth is that the only people that they're impressing is each other. No one who's not a vegan buys into those mental gymnastics. They see them as complete hypocrites. In fact, when a vegan starts trying to justify animal suffering and death, that's when you realize it's not about the animals, right? It's about the human beings, and it's about them wanting to exact an iron-fisted dystopian control over other human beings. It's very misanthropic. It's very malicious.
It is.
And so there's globally you've got about 1% of the population that's vegan at any moment, and every 2 years, 86% of those drop off, so they have to be replaced with new ones. It's veganism is no matter what General Mills or Kraft or Nestle says, it's flatlined, and veganism is not getting more popular. It's actually getting less popular, and part of it is because of these mental gymnastics that these vegans are performing in public, which are exposing veganism as a morally inept, an ethically void way of thinking.
Look at the
And
marketing of all these Beyond Meats and sausages and stuff. The updates of how like they've lost like everything. Like they push this, a lot of money, a lot of marketing, and it's just going down the drain.
yeah, in fact, I think I heard that there was a lawsuit uh, that's being filed against one of those fake meat companies because the investors had basically been lied to, and the forecasts were so off, where they were so wrong that people lost a lot of money. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, corporations these days are not following the law. They have they have a legal responsibility, a fiduciary responsibility to do what's best for the corporation,
Mhm.
but they end up being strategic partners of the WEF, and the WEF has got this plant-based agenda amongst
Mhm.
other agendas, and so these corporations are willing to lose money in order to pursue this anti-human agenda. Do you have
You
something
want
you
to?
want to share?
Yeah, yeah. Well, since we're talking about the losses, I have Financial Times an article. I didn't read it yet. Let me know when it pops up.
Okay, it's up there.
Okay, yeah. Financial Times: losses of meat alternatives leave investors with sour aftertaste. Shares in plant-based food groups suffer big falls, while analysts see more potential from alternative grown from stem cells. So now they're back onto the cancer meat. That's funny. Um, In February 2021, Whole Foods former chief executive described consumers gradually shift from meat to plant-based alternatives as a mega trend akin to digitization, potentially the biggest single trend in the history of food. Now, the biggest single trend in the history of food, okay, is going low fat and switching that fat to seed oils, and then switching everything to high carb. That's the trend. That's the biggest trend and the most destructive trend in the history of humanity, in my opinion. My opinion. It has been a painful 2.5 year journey for investors in the sector since then. An index tracking 46 plant-based food companies have halved in value since peaking weeks after Rob's bold call. Yeah, well, anyways, we don't have to. Oh, wait, Bill and Melinda. Share in California based Beyond Meat, the poster child for the sector, whose early backers included actor Leonardo DiCaprio and Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, rocketed after flotation in 2019. It briefly enjoyed a market capitalization of more than 14 billion, but since then the shares have fallen about 95%, and the company has also been hit with class action lawsuits. This is what you were mentioning. Shares in Oatly, another vegan alternative, have dropped 90%, despite a boom in ethically focused investing. If you want to ethically focusedly invest, then help people like JD. That's the only thing. Return to local farmers, have local farmers popping up everywhere instead of these mega corporations. Despite the boom, growing concerns about the meat industry's carbon footprint, consumers have not developed a taste for plant-based alternatives, which still only accounts for a fraction of a single unit. Is that enough? We don't have to read the whole thing.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, that's enough.
forget the point there. So,
Yeah, so I'll back to reasonable vegan. I wanted to show you what he said to his live stream guest.
Okay.
All right, here we go. Can you see that? Yeah. All right, listen up. Ready?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's been a guy that I've been having conversations with, let's say, named Garland Farms is his YouTube channel, and he's an anti-vegan, and he's into regenerative farming, which from what I know of regenerative farming, I like it a lot more than most other types of farming.
Yeah, he likes it better, but he still wants to abolish it as well.
Yeah.
And that's something that he's not. He won't say very much, but he has said it.
But a
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
of his who's been kind of a follower of mine that's been having conversations with me recommended that I get a B12 test specifically called MMA methylmalonic acid test.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't familiar with this, but it turns out that most standard B12 tests will test like what's in your system, but not what's bioactive, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And is interesting because these non-vegans led me to a Gregor video of.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's not being completely forthright here because who was the non-vegan that led him to that McGregor video, right?
You.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull that up real quick and show you what I actually showed him.
I did see the video. I love how Gregor talks. You know, it's so fake, eh? Then, if you're really far. I'm not even sure if Dr. Gregor ever finished his actual residency. I know that he never practiced at all with any patient. He went straight into plant activism.
Yeah, as I understand it, he did not finish his residency, but I
Not
don't
sure
know
if
that
he's allowed to put doctor then if he didn't.
Okay, so the reason I posted this was because he was saying that the MMA test was something that non-vegans were saying.
Mm-hmm.
I showed him this, and this doesn't prove that Gregor is right about everything. It just means that he's right about something. And in addition to that, this is very obscure. He, as far as I know, this is the only time he's ever told the truth about testing B12, your functional B12 status. Here we go. So he made this post. We looked at this earlier. You say, I guess it's the blood test that non-vegans view as truly testing B12's levels. And so I wanted to show him that it's not just non-vegans, that there's even vegan doctors that are out there telling the truth about this. However, yes, it's obscure. They're not making it as prominently known as they could or should.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want to back up here too. And notice he says, Garland Farms has already mentioned to me, you see the second paragraph, that my bivalve consumption would benefit B12. So he's admitting that he's been eating clams, which are very, very, very high in the right kind of B12.
Underdiagnosis of the condition results largely from failure to understand that a normal B12 blood level may not reflect adequate functional B12 status. The levels of B12 in your blood does not always represent the level of B12 in your cells. You can have a severe functional deficiency of B12 even though your blood levels are normal or even high. Most physicians tend to assume that if the B12 level in your blood is normal, then there's no problem. Measuring methylmalonic acid levels or homocysteine directly are more accurate reflection of vitamin B12 functional status.
Yeah.
Okay, so I miss. You mean he's regularly eating mussels, or he did this once?
As far as I know, he did it once about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Now he claimed that his claim was that B12 would exit the body within just like a week or so, and I did find some references saying things along those lines, but what they were referring to was supplements, B12 supplements,
Mhm.
and I'm guessing that what they're talking about is cyanocobalamin,
That's what I
because
wanted to ask.
cyanocobalamin is not, it's the most common B12 supplement, but it's not bioactive in humans, and the conversion rate to the bioactive methylcobalamin
Yeah.
is abysmally low in humans. So
The test, the serum one, will it differentiate between cyana or methyl? So
no,
you could, like, technically then he could have literally, like, few hours before having a blood test, just pop tons of cyana,
yeah,
and because it's water soluble to a certain extent, right? So it would be high in the blood.
yeah, it would
That's
be
why
high in the blood.
it's like how the hell did you achieve a high level of serum on a vegan diet unless you're just supplementing the heck out of you? Because he wouldn't have even been able to get that without the supplement. So anyways, it just shows massive supplementation.
Yeah, it could have been supplementation. It it could be something else.
Yeah.
You know, it could be
Well, it's not the vegan
diabetes,
diet, that's for
leukemia.
sure. It's not the vegan diet. We can agree on that. That's not the vegan diet that did that.
Right. So let's go back to that video where he was talking to the vegan and he's bragging about his B12 levels, so we can listen. You can tell me whether or not this comes across as an honest portrayal of reality.
Of Gregor talking about the importance of the MMA test. And so I had never done this before, and I actually, because of a meat eater on YouTube, I went and got this last week, and it just showed up, and my results are great. My B12 is excellent, and I also at the same time got a vitamin D test because I've had vitamin D issues in the past. From my understanding, most people that live Gregor
Okay.
talking about the importance of the MMA test.
I notice he does not tell this individual that he recently ate clams, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why this is relevant, because when you're B12 deficient, then you're like a dry sponge when it comes to bioactive B12. In other words, if your body comes in contact with bioactive B12 and you're deficient, you're gonna soak it up like crazy. Your body is
So
going
it
to
won't be in
soak
the
it
blood,
up.
right? You're saying that if the active form is in the blood, it'll never stay in a significant amount because it's being used because it's available. Is that what you're saying?
But what I'm saying is that if you've been eating a B12 deficient diet
Yes.
and your MMA levels are high,
Okay.
your methylmalonic acid levels are high, which indicates a deficiency,
Hmm.
and you eat clams, which have like 1,200 times more than the standard RDA of bioactive
Wow.
B12.
Okay.
And so your body has been starving for B12, and all of a sudden your bloodstream is flooded with the right kind of B12. Then all of a sudden your body's going to absorb all of that, and your MMA level is going to drop. So
Yeah.
it's not going to show what was
Yeah.
previously a functional B12 deficiency.
That's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me pull something up real quick.
Mhm.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah.
Okay, can you see that?
2 seconds. Clams. Yeah.
Clams have more B12 per serving than any other food, 1,868% of the daily value to be exact. So if you're going to be a vegan and you're, number one, you're going to take supplements, B12 supplements. So it's not accurate to say that the vegan diet is appropriate when you have to take pills to get certain vitamins up. We also know that synthetic vitamins are linked to things like cancer, organ failure. And so, it's pretty well known that it's best to get your essential nutrients from food rather than pills. But let's say you've been taking supplements and then you eat some clams. And if you have one serving of clams 3 or 4 weeks ago, that could still be in your system a month later. In fact, let's see.
Yeah, understood. Okay. It makes perfect sense. Okay, go ahead.
B12.
How long
5 years.
do we have like an actual any information on how long B12 once it's absorbed intracellularly, how long that B12 is metabolized and more is required? Like how long does it stay? Because like you said, like if B12 is water soluble, but once it gets into the cell and has its function, is this something that stays for a while, or does it require daily supplementation and stuff like that? The liver stores vitamins. The liver stores vitamins and minerals for the times when they may be lacking in the diet. It can store enough vitamin A and B12 for 4 years and enough D for 4 months. Wow. Okay. I did not know that. That is really, really long. Which makes sense. Like that. Let's take Bruce C's old channel for example, right? Bruce was eating a self-admitted junk food diet, and so
is Joey Carbstrong on? I think Joey. Hello, Joey. Is this Joey? No, that's not Joey Carbstrong. No. Who is it? He got off. he didn't want to get embarrassed.
Joey. Jeez. The intense eyes. No incidental bugs. I was about to... Oh, yeah, no, what I was saying about my brother, self-admitted junk food diet, went up to 297, right? And the Bruce is doing about like a week fast at a time with a very short and brief refeeding and stuff like that. Now, Bruce technically probably could fast like with no food for a freaking year and look amazing, feel better. And this is, I think, is what happens if you're a vegan going from a standard diet. You would benefit and feel just as amazing just with no food. So now you start that the whole food, raw vegan and all that stuff. You're feeling a lot better, but that wears off long term. Just like if you fast, you'll get benefits, and if you go too long, then no, it's dangerous. So I think JD, that some people are like, let's say, enough vitamin A and vitamin B for 4 years. Well, if somebody, is the BCO1 gene and can't get carotene and stuff like use carotene and it builds up, we're talking about people that function well, but over time, yeah. So that's good to know. I did not know that.
Yeah. Now, that doesn't mean that a vegan could be a vegan for 100% plant-based for 8 years, eat one serving of clam, and then be good for 4 years.
No.
We don't know that that's true. What we do know is that if you have been consuming B12 on a regular basis and you suddenly stop, there's a possibility that you might not be deficient for 4 years. And it depends on, there are times like when you're sick or when you're injured, where your B12 requirements go up, and so there's variables out in there that can affect how long your B12 stores can last. So because once I pointed this out, then he said, okay, well then you just debunked yourself, because now you can eat a vegan diet and just eat clams once every 4 or 5 years and you'll be fine. But he's jumping from one extreme to the other. On the one, he's trying to say that, yeah, I ate clams a few weeks ago, but that B12 would be out of my system by the time I take this test. And then I showed him that, no, this B12 can last for up to 4 years. Then he switched. He's like a feather in the wind. He just, whatever benefits forcing a plant-based diet down the throats of other human beings and their children is whatever he'll jump on. He'll just roll with the punches, and everything has to be. Here's Joey again. Let's see. Hello, Joey.
Hey, mate, how are you?
Yeah.
I
Now this isn't Joey.
I think you should leave the animals alone, eh?
Yeah, that's not Joey.
I think
No,
you should
that's
leave
not
the animals alone. Be a bit compassionate towards animals, eh?
Joey.
Well, yeah, I think
Joey
that.
would come face to
Yeah.
face. He would turn on.
Anytime you want to come on my channel, eh?
Have you been spraying your rodenticides?
Listen, mate. You don't know nothing about what happens. I've seen slaughterhouses myself, and I look after the animals, eh?
Have you trespassed on any farmer's property and stole their sheep again?
In the past, we all make mistakes. At the end of the day, I'm always debunking your videos, mate.
Yeah, you've never debunked my videos, mate.
Yes, I have, mate, because you've seen my videos. I look after the animals.
He's up here and you're down here. Why would Joey even acknowledge you? He's big time.
Listen, mate. At the end of the day, I look after the animals. I actually have compassion. I've never done anything wrong in my life. You eat animals, so you're a murderer.
Well,
So when you went to jail, you didn't do anything wrong, right?
Say that to my face, Jason. I used to be in a gang. I would have put you in your back in my day, mate. You wouldn't have been any trouble whatsoever. But
It's nice saying "tell it to my face" when you don't even have the nuts to turn on your camera. I mean, literally. Let's start face to face over video.
Come down to England where I live now, and I'll say it to you, basically. I'm not scared. I used to be in a gang. I'm not scared of nobody. That goes for you as well, mate.
I'm on a no travel ban, so tough.
Okay, what's your argument then? Go on, explain it. How can you be abusive towards animals and say that you're a good person? I don't get it.
Because I like to dominate things that are vulnerable.
And Garland Farms, I've seen your videos about me in the past, mate, making fun of my eyes. It's called being a man. Unlike you actually get women because I'm good looking.
yeah, you're very good looking.
Yeah, exactly. So what's your argument?
It could
You're
be
a murderer.
all of maybe the rodenticides that you're consuming have something to do with that.
Listen, mate, I'm a lot healthier now being a vegan than I was in a gang eating meat. That's all I'll say about that one, mate.
Yeah,
You gotta work on your accent.
Hence herbivore would put you on your ass as well. How about that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. Is he out of the hospital yet?
Oh, Henchy, mate, he's about twice your size. Okay, he used to be in martial arts and a doorman, and he'll put you on your ass. I just want you to stop making videos about me because it's doing my head in.
No, I'm going to continue making videos about you, for sure.
When I was in the gang, mate, you wouldn't have stood a chance. I'll tell you that right now. I've got better
I thought
things
you
to
said
do.
you've never done anything wrong. Now you're in a gang? Was it a gang that spread love?
I'm trying to redeem. Shut up, mate. I'm not even Garland. Listen, stop making videos about me, or else you're going to be in big trouble, my friend.
Okay, Joey. Thanks for showing up. We appreciate your presence. Goodbye.
He has to work on the accent. That's not a good accent.
Yeah. Well, it was a good little skit, anyhow.
And the actual Joey Armstrong is narcissistic enough to never come on just like that.
No.
He likes to see himself, obviously.
He did come into my comments section one time and argue with me in the comments section. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like today on my live stream, completely different theme. I'm debunking my haters and stuff like that. And I noticed he didn't respond at all to any of it. I took the time to like make a PowerPoint presentation to debunk this guy, and no, zero response and stuff like that. So I was expecting him to come on. I was expecting some of his flat earther group to come on. No one came on. And I know that they were aware because he was commenting on my community post where I posted 2 bland freaking meat patties. And I was like, I'm a simple guy. So he comments on that. But the 2 more recent community posts are strictly him, and I tagged him, and I completely debunked him, and he's refusing. So it's like I'm experiencing the same thing, and it shows that veganism is religious because it was a religious issue that we were doing, and the vegans act exactly the same way. It is definitely a misanthropic religion. It's a worldview, so
Yeah, it is. It certainly is. Yeah. So, what I wanted to call attention to is that when this video with Reasonable Vegan, he never told this guy Fraser that he had. I never heard him mention the fact that he had some clams. So, the message that he's putting out there seems to be you can survive, you can thrive on a 100% plant-based diet without any clams, without any B12 supplements, without any choline supplements, creatine supplements, collagen. The list. Let's see. I've got a list here somewhere. Here it is.
okay.
Choline, methylcobalamin, creatine, vitamin A, B6, B12, which is methylcobalamin, vitamin D, vitamin F, vitamin K2, MK4, heme iron, CoQ10, CLA, taurine, carnosine, and carnitine. So these are either completely absent or deficient in a 100% plant-based diet. Go ahead.
I'm gonna show some ignorance here. What is vitamin F? I've never heard of that.
Here, let's pull it up.
Yeah.
Vitamin F isn't actually a vitamin. It's made up of 2 kinds of polyunsaturated fatty acids, ALA, and linoleic.
For the record, I know what ALA and omega 3 and 6 is. I just didn't know it was referred to the vitamin F. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. How about DHA and EPA?
Yeah.
Yeah, they say they've got some algae derived, but none of this has been proven at all. And so, you'll be experimenting, gambling.
Let's see.
Yeah, they say the omega-3 fatty acids in walnuts, flax seeds, chia, these are ALA, which are poorly converted to EPA and DHA.
I have, let me see. Yeah, I do have the can adults adequately convert alpha linoleic acid to EPA and DHA. It's one that we pop up often there, but if you want to pop it up so people at least see it from the PubMed and stuff.
Yeah, I'll show that just a second. You'll see here conversion of ALA to EPA and DHA is inefficient, less than 5 to 10% for EPA and 2 to 5% for DHA.
I'm going to share in a second.
All right.
Should have prepared this ahead of time. Sorry. Share. Yeah. So can adults convert ALA to EPA and DHA, which is the active form of omega-3? Here, I'll read the whole thing from the start. A diet including 2 portions of fatty fish per week, which corresponds to an intake of 1.25 grams of EPA plus DHA per day, has been officially recommended as the basis of epidemiological, my favorite, findings showing a beneficial role of these omega-3 long-chain fatty acids in the prevention of cardiovascular as well as inflammatory disease. The parent fatty acid, so it's not even considered like, it's like the parent fatty acid, ALA, found in vegetable oils such as flaxseed or rapeseed, is used by the human organism partly as a source of energy, partly as a precursor of the metabolites. But the degree of conversion appears to be unreliable and restricted. More specifically, most studies in humans have shown that whereas a certain, though restricted, conversion of high doses of ALA to EPA occurs, conversion of DHA is severely restricted. The use of ALA labeled with radioisotopes suggested that with a background high in saturated fat, do we know any vegan that has a background high in saturated fat? Conversion to long chain metabolites is about 6% for the EPA and 3.8% for the DHA. With a diet rich in omega-6, which is pretty much at this point the only fat that will sneak into a vegan diet, conversion is reduced by 40 to 50%. It is thus reasonable to observe a 6-to-3 ratio, not exceeding 4 to 6. Restricted conversion to DHA may be critical since evidence has shown increasingly is this long chain metabolite has a autonomic function in the brain, retina, spermatozoa. We can look at the sperm counts decreasing as well. And then I have the beta carotene, and that's it. Do you see this tab as well? The challenge of reaching nutritional adequacy with beta carotene bioavailability. So this is a provitamin. It's a precursor to retinol and requires a conversion. And what it says here is beta carotene. If I'm going to highlight it. So it says the absorption of beta carotene from parent sources ranges from 5% to 65% in humans. Vitamin A equivalency ratios for beta carotene to vitamin A from plant sources range from 3.8 to 1 to 28 per 1. So the vegans are not only putting themselves at risk of B12. It's like we said, we got the B12, we got the A, we got the Ds, we got the fatty acids, and JD goes on and on with the the rest of the bunch. Wasn't there some other one that we wanted to show? I think that's it.
K2, MK4.
Well, yeah, that one you can punch up. Like I think it's about, what is it, 8 or 10 basic nutrients there that are pretty deficient. I'm trying to think, there was one more thing that I wanted to look up. Vitamin A. Oh, I wanted to just while you're popping some up, I wanted to see the BCOM. BCO1 gene.
Oh, now we've got Hench Herbivore wants to come on.
Yeah, but these are probably all people that aren't really.
Yeah. Hey, Hench.
He has an accent probably. Now he's showing the.
Are you out of the hospital yet, Hench? Are you?
Anyway.
Did you have to get your appendix? You have to get your gallbladder removed? Not enough K2 MK4?
Leave the animals alone.
What'd you say? I.
Funny,
Leave the animals alone.
all these people that love to see themselves on camera are not putting on a video. This was the gene. Are you still screen sharing?
Yeah, beta carotene oxygenase 1.
Yeah, that's it. So BCO1, there's genetic mutations where people don't have this this enzyme. So efficient vitamin A metabolism is required for vital processes such as vision, embryonic development, many other things. BCO1 is a key enzyme in beta carotene metabolism to vitamin A. So the BCO1, it's a key enzyme to bring that beta carotene that's not vitamin A, it's a prohormone to vitamin A. It catalyzes the oxidative cleavage of, anyways, low levels of vitamin A are associated with. So what I'm just saying is, in my opinion, once if we do a thought experiment and we all arrive on a forced plant-based diet from the World Economic Forum, for example, we're going to see on a massive scale, just looking at the BCL1, these people that are unable to convert beta carotene to retinol, they'll turn orange, their eyes will turn orange, they'll go blind. I mean, carotenemia is something very serious and will literally humanity would have to walk away from retinol. Like retinol would be a thing of the past. We're talking about beta carotene. Remember the BCL1 gene that I was talking about during bedtime? We're doing that also.
She says, okay.
She's like, fine.
Here's a video that Reasonable Vegan just put up.
All right.
Are crop deaths rights violations? Let's see if he answers the question.
Violation is very complicated. So rights, there aren't natural rights. Nature doesn't give you rights. We don't just, if we're out in the wild, we don't just have these rights. So rights are something that you either afford someone or your law affords you. So we could think crop deaths are good or bad things, but they're only a rights violation if you afford those rights.
So
doesn't make sense.
I think his position is that all livestock deaths in order to produce food is a negative rights violation, whereas wild animals, it's only a negative rights violation if we afford those rights to those animals. So livestock by default have those rights, and wild animals that die because of the crop agriculture that produces the vegan menu, they don't by default have those rights. They're only given those rights if the vegans ever decide to give them those rights. So far, the vegans have not given them those rights.
You know, we're held accountable to our mental capacities in a way. So, you know, we're not going to hold somebody with a mental handicap to the same accountability as somebody with full faculties. So even if they want to start anthropomorphizing and literally, you know, putting these ethical rights on animals on top of it, the animals are like mentally challenged people that don't understand that they're passing on private property. So it still doesn't work, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not.
And like I told him when McCaffrey was talking about that, I was like, I just explained to you my diet, right? That causes 3 deaths that are quite rapid. And you're giving me all of this. Yeah, but it's still wrong because you're doing it on purpose to 2 animals to eat. And yes, I admit that we're doing 1,000 brutal indirect murders. And it's like, but he's like, I was like, okay, well, your little mental gymnastics, what does 1,000 animals give a crap about how you're perceiving, how you're setting up your mental gymnastics? As far as the 1,000 animals that you self-admit are likely dying, and it's like the animals are not at the debate table. If I can kill 2 animals or 3 animals or 10 animals on purpose and minimize it to 10, and you're saying 1,000 indirectly because you're purchasing it, but you are aware that all of this death is happening. Just like you guys put it on us and say you're going to the supermarket. Yeah, you're not killing it, but you're creating a demand. So it's so one-sided.
Yeah, it's intellectually dishonest because they're whether or not they're affording animals rights depends upon whether or not they're being killed for plants or being killed for hamburger meat or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's way past being exposed as a fraudulent movement. The movement itself is deep into a fraudulent philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's been proven over and over and over again. And it's a misanthropic cult. It has nothing to do with trying to save the animals. It has everything to do with harming human beings.
Yeah, it's a hatred for humanity and our literal nature.
Yeah.
Crazy. Oh, thanks for the plug.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all go over to Jason John Swart's channel. He also does videos on keto diet. His big brother has been on his program, and
Yeah.
how many pounds has he lost in the last month?
Last I checked, it was like 67 or 66 pounds in 2 months by doing 7-day water fasts with only electrolyte replenishment. And then he does like a brief, probably like animal food, eggs, beef, things, pork chops, I think he said once. I'm aware the omega-6 is high, but it's a huge improvement. He has he's always had naturally a decent upper body. So, I mean, obviously, I don't think that he lost 66 pounds of fat. It must have been a decent amount of water. I'm guessing 20 pounds. And I think that my brother had a lot of inflammation from just eating poorly for such a long time. So I think maybe that there's also just inflammation and edema or something that left, because it's a massive weight loss. If you go to my community, JD, and scroll down to maybe 5 days ago, you can see that progress pic that I just took a picture of Bruce on his stream, and then Bruce on his stream 60 days after in the community. Go to community.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go.
If he was just doing keto, I would say, yeah, it's must be edema or something. But if he's doing a 7-day fast to refeed, a 7-day fast to refeed,
Yeah.
a 7-day fast to refeed, then that sounds to me like legitimate fat loss.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it. Look at how much. It's insane. 60 days of fasting, proving the healing mechanism of autophagy and stuff like that is something I might me and you see. What I'd like to do is, if you're not busy, to start coming more on the live streams, to trying to help out. I'm helping Noah. But maybe I'll have Noah, my son, come on the stream, give him a little bit of pointers. I set my son up. He seems to want himself to do low carb. We've been doing it. He feels better and stuff like that. So I told him, look, now you're trying to weight train and stuff like that. I convinced him at least to do a.
We're going to get a copyright with that music.
Sorry. Yeah, so I told, what's your opinion? If I can get Noah to have the exact same amount of food, right, that he would have anyways done as a young guy trying to weight train, what I told him is I want to fast. I want him to do the intermittent. Sorry, I'm going to go upstairs. I told Noah that, you get extra growth hormone spikes with a 24-hour fast. I said, technically, as long as you can stuff all the food you need in the briefest period possible, I said, I think the growth hormone spikes are beneficial. And then after I told him to train fasted, and then after to right away have a glycogen replacement meal. So that's where I would say, I don't know how much. Maybe you can suggest how many grams we would start. I told him 50. He's quite small there, and that's pretty much the thing that I was saying. Like, he wants to continue with heavy animal based foods, vegetables and stuff like that. We'll have it occasionally. Is this a reasonable for a 16-year-old guy going through puberty, starting to want to make some muscles? Do you think that that's okay if there's a glycogen replacement meal? Do you think that would be enough, just one glycogen meal? Because I'm a weight loss guy, and I know that that, but you also are more sports able to set things up for peak performance, which I think Noah would want to do. He wants to make gains. What do you think about what I told him so far? Is that reasonable? Or?
Well, as far as how much carbohydrate can replenish glycogen and for how long, that varies per individual. What I always taught athletes was, let's say you're a tennis player.
Yeah.
The tennis players are constantly having to get going in one direction, stop, and then get going in the other direction. So there's a lot of stop and go, changing of directions, acceleration, deceleration. And every pound of excess body fat that you've got is going to be working against your efforts, because once you have that fat moving in a certain direction, there's a lot of momentum there that's got to be overcome if you're going to stop and then change directions. Mm-hmm. And with 2 pounds, it's even more difficult. And with 3 pounds of excess body fat, it's even more. So what I would always tell people is try an athlete like that, try to get down to between 8 to 10% body fat. So an athlete needs to be able to measure their body composition, because it's not just a weight issue, it's a body fat issue. Okay. And so by doing...
Noah is extremely lean. Like he would be 10 and stuff like that. He has no squish. So he's starting from that point, which is why I don't want, I want to make sure that he's not getting leaner and leaner with this,
Well, if he goes from 8% or from 10% to 8%, there's no science that would show that that's dangerous.
No. But what I'm saying is, what if he's already at that?
But you said he's already at maybe, let's say he's at 10, and you're telling him that don't go any lower than that. That's dangerous if you go below 10. Yeah. There's no science to back that up. Sure. There's no science to back up that you can't go from 10 to 8 safely. Sure. And if you were to lose enough body fat to go from 10% to 8%, that might be 10 pounds of fat.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that's 10 pounds because every pound of muscle that you put on actually aids or helps you stop and accelerate. Mm-hmm. Because it's like the motor in the car, But if you've got excess body fat does not help you accelerate, and it does not help you stop and change directions. Mm-hmm. So you might lose 5 or 10 pounds of dead weight by going from 10% to 8%. So any athlete that's, I mean, now if you're a sumo wrestler or something like that, you may not want to lose that excess body fat. But if you're a tennis player or a football player or a rugby player or a soccer player or a basketball player, most sports are going to, the athletes that participate in most sports will benefit from a lower body fat percentage. So if he's at 10, he wants to be better, then 8 would be better. If he's at 8 and we say, okay, that's good enough, stop at 8, and now you want to bring in some carbohydrates, you're asking me how much and how often?
Yeah.
Okay. That's completely dependent upon how much muscle mass he's carrying and how active he is during the day and what type of activity that is.
Well, I can kind of give you a rundown. So just Noah is not into, he's not a sports guy. He does not like sports. The only thing that he's doing now will be kind of like weight training. And even that, it's around the house. It's not like, hardcore yet. This is where he's starting from. So he's starting from very lean. He doesn't necessarily require, as much stuff like a plane, throw it all the weight off, kind of thing. I don't think he needs that. In fact, he would be looking to bulk up. And that's pretty much it. So I kind of told him, I said 30 grams. I said, let's start with 30 grams of like white rice or potato, like you had mentioned. I said, do that after your training and stuff like that. And I said, we'll look at your body composition. And then I don't know, today I said, let's go for 50. I could, the next time I'll have him come over there and like show like kind of his current physique now. So I'll have him on and maybe just have you to talk with him and stuff like that. So it's really like he's not trying to cut like a few seconds off any sport. He's just a 16-year-old starting to go through puberty. He's a little late and he's noticing he's getting a little bit of muscle, and now he's all motivated like his brother to go. So I was like, look, we're always going to be low carb. Like we don't have tons of carbs in the house. We're not like that. Obviously, I'm not also forcing keto on my kids, but they tend to like low carbish, which I think low carbish that I'm calling low carb is probably exactly the normal carbs before the low fat era came. But as long as you think like, it's pretty reasonable to add carbohydrates for a young guy who just wants to start getting a little bit of muscle and look good for the girls. That's pretty much as far as serious as that. So that's why I'm like, I don't want him to not eat any carbs. He's really lean, and I want him to at least benefit from, like, let's try and fill your glycogen always maximal in your muscle. Because I mean, he's young. These young kids could probably function on sugar for a decade because they're brand new. but I was just kind of thinking fine tuning.
I don't think it's necessary to keep your glycogen stores topped out. You know, what I would do is start with what you said, with what you recommended. It was like 30 grams of some clean starch or sugar. Because starch is the same as sugar. Yeah. Rice is not healthier than table sugar. Okay, there's no health benefit of, say, any kind of rice over table sugar. The glycemic load is basically the same.
Okay.
The glycemic index is basically the same. So 30 grams of rice is basically the same as 30 grams of that white table sugar that people put in their tea and their coffee.
Because that's what Noah was asking me. He was like, well, he goes, technically, if I take 5 grams of white sugar, and I was like, well, that's exactly. I said, well, yeah. I said most supplements and protein powders is dextrose. I said, yeah, you can, but I was kind of like, just try and get it with whole food. I just want to keep him in the idea of like I'm not even suggesting a protein supplement yet or anything like that. What's your thoughts on that? Protein
No, I don't think. No, I don't think that they need to take protein supplements.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
If they want to put on muscle, then
Yeah.
resistance exercise makes that happen.
Yeah.
Not eating powder, protein powders.
Yeah, it's processed.
Now,
it's like that.
if you see on your screen, you'll see some body fat calipers.
Yeah.
This is what I did, and this is what I recommend to my athletes. Is if you start with, you make a guess and you say, okay, is 30 grams a day enough? And you start with that as a starting point,
Yep.
and you see how you feel, how you perform during the day with that as your carbohydrate consumption, and then you pick a spot, and really any spot that usually wherever you store the most fat, pick that spot to measure, and make a measurement before you start, and then the day after you start, then take another measurement.
Okay.
If that measurement is less than yesterday and you're more than 8% body fat, then you may want to just keep doing what you're doing.
Okay.
And then as soon as your body fat percentage gets down to 8, or what you think is 8, then you can start adding carbohydrates. But if you add carbohydrates and you find that your body fat percentage is going up using these calipers, then you want to go from 30 grams to 25. And if tomorrow's measurement is the same or less, then stick with 25 until you find that you're leveling out. But using these little fat calipers can tell you immediately whether or not the amount of carbohydrates that you're consuming is adding body fat to your frame.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's actually what I do when I'm helping somebody lose weight. I'm comfortable with keto, so I do the keto. But I always say at the end, it's like, once your weight loss is done, I go, most people just enjoy it. They don't feel it restricted. But I said, if you feel it's restrictive and you got the job done, then I said, if you want to slowly add carbohydrate sources back, I said, no problem. But I said, let's say if you're doing 20 grams now, I said, just take your time, add another 10, and exactly like that. I didn't say the actual instrument to measure, but I was like, do it slowly and then see individually how much you tolerate, and then obviously explaining. But like, if you have an excessively active day, it's going to vary, and understanding that. But that's usually also exactly like you said, like, if let's add it but slowly, and let's see when you start having more fat, and then you kind of get that average, right?
Yeah,
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, so you can say these are pretty affordable. Most of them around $10-15, and they're really good for athletes or anyone else that's looking to lose body fat without creating a going too low with your body fat.
Mm-hmm.
And how low you can get your body fat safely would, not every human body is exactly the same. So for some it might be 8%, for others it might be 6, for some it might be 5, but you start getting into really low body fats. There are some people that just naturally have a super low body fat percentage. But,
what's that guy, the most ripped guy? Like, you see every striation. I don't know if it's like genetically he has. He's like, but he looks literally like those anatomy books.
Where you can see all the fibers.
Yeah, but I'm trying to think. Strubble or something. Oh, probably just right. Leanest. Lean. I got it if you want. His name is, do you want me to just share it?
You want to share? You want to share instead of telling me? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, Joey wants to come back on. What do you say, Joey?
I want to apologise, mate, about my attitude.
I'll still
Well,
be sharing this.
It's about time, Joey. I appreciate I accept your apology. Would you like to come over for some barbecue?
Don't get funny with me, mate. But look, I'm a reformed character now, mate, and I won't get into violence. But I want you to apologise for making videos about me, mate, and then we'll squash this beef.
The share
that's not
screen's
gonna
there
happen.
when you want. All
And
right.
on Monday, 7 p.m. UK time, mate, I'm doing a live stream on my channel. If you're happy to come on, I will debate you in front of all my followers, and I'll show you that I'm not afraid of you, mate. I'll do it for the animals.
You need to do something.
What do you mean I need to do something, mate? I'll do a
Well,
lot.
right,
I'll do a lot for the
because
animals.
everyone's
Yeah.
the general consensus is that you are afraid of me.
Afraid of you, mate. I used to be in a gang. I used to hurt people. I used to smash people. People would have blood pissed out their head after they messed with me and my crew. What?
Mm.
The whole idea, mate, that I'll be afraid of you is ridiculous.
That's crazy how lean this guy is. Look at this. Every single striation.
Yeah.
To be honest, it doesn't even look good.
What is his?
Kind of gross.
Well, that's a subjective determination.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that they find weightlifting uncomfortable, and they rationalize that they don't want to be big because it looks disgusting. And and you have to also remember that that's what he looks like when he's flexing.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like that when he's just standing there.
Yeah.
And
but like you could tell like this is not an exaggerated physique, right? This is actually,
what is his name?
Pretty. I'll tell you. Just, let me go back. I'm trying to find Strobel, but I'm trying to find his first name. Lee Strobel. Nope, that's a case for Christ. I just know, right? Most shredded here. Shredded. I'll write it. Why does it keep on just saying Strobel? Fitness. Here, it's gonna say it. Fitness model. Blah, 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 blah. I don't know why they just keep on calling him Strobel. Like, is he like Madonna? He just has one name.
I think his name is Helmut Strebel.
Yes, Helmut. Yeah, that's it. Correct. All right. Are we gonna? You wanna? Well, I'm gonna go off now. My granddaughter's here and stuff like that. And
yeah, I'm gonna get off here in a minute. But I'm reading here that his body fat percentage is between 4 and 5%. So
yeah,
it's not necessarily a bad thing to be that low. It's really not.
Yeah.
I think that it can actually be harmful to try to portray that as automatically unhealthy, because there's this mentality amongst the obese and the high body fat percentage population is the norm now. And, your brother may experience this where he gets his body fat percentage down to something healthy, and then he gets around his obese friends, and all of a sudden they're concerned for his health. Right.
Yeah.
And so that's why I think it can be dangerous. It can be harmful to try to demonize a low body fat percentage, because there's no science out there to back up the idea that a low body fat
good
percentage.
To know, because that's something I've heard also in the past, and it kind of I just assumed, Didn't think too much about it because I was like, geez, I don't think I'm ever gonna have to worry about getting that lean or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, you know, if it becomes a, you know, some type of body dysmorphia issue or turns into bulimia or, you know, but if you're looking at a natural athlete who's muscular and lean, that's not an eating disorder, right?
No,
No one
no,
who's got an eating disorder is going to be muscular and lean. That's
obviously.
that's just there's not an eating disorder out there that has that phenotype.
Yeah.
So
Mark Saunders, I'll answer and let me know if you agree. He goes, I feel like people can be lean, low body fat percentage on almost all of the main diet styles. I guess technically, you know, yes, if you calorie restrict severely, yeah, you'll get leaner and leaner and leaner, but your body composition as well will take a drastic toll as well, right? Like I don't
well,
every single like I mean junk food. Like sure, if you eat like one Oreo per day, it's junk food diet. What are your thoughts on exactly what he says or his opinion? I feel. Oh, I'll pop it up. Sorry, I can't. It's Mark Saunders right towards the bottom. He says, "I feel like people can be lean on almost any main diet."
well, the thing is that any diet, what you know, there's different things that constitute a diet. One is what you're eating. The other one is when are you eating? How frequently?
Good.
You
Smart.
know, and so whether or not a diet can result in a lean body fat or a lean body composition would be determined by how frequently someone eats, how big are their meals, how much activity are they doing during the day, how many days a week are they active, how intense is the activity. So there's lots of variables, and I guess technically he could be right, but at the same time, how about this eating style, where you wake up in the morning and you eat vegan donuts. You eat, let's say, 3,000 calories of vegan donuts for breakfast, 3,000 calories of vegan donuts for lunch, 3,000 calories of vegan donuts for dinner, and another 3,000 vegan donuts right before bed. Is that going to result in a lean? Well, no. And you probably wouldn't be able to do enough exercise in order to burn off all of that fat without your body fat percentage going up and up and up. If you did that day after day after day, and that's going to be a protein deficient diet. So eventually, the lack of essential amino acids there are going to show up with the result of atrophy, regardless of whether or not you're doing resistance exercise or not.
This is like when McCaffrey, I was telling him like, you know, saying how more ethical you know I was, and I told him I said probably 3 months out of the year if we total all the days not eating and stuff like that, and he said well if you're not losing weight, then it just means on the days that you are eating that you're consuming. I was like really nailing him, so I shut up about that. But basically, what I was going to say was, yes, I have lost a lot. So I'm telling you, the way I eat, my body will naturally go to my ideal body weight if I continue that way. Once I am there, I realize, my goodness, I'm not starved anymore. So what I was trying to tell the guy is the way you're setting up with just carbs, it will make you constantly starve, and you will not be able to fast like 2-3 months out of the year. But it was on your channel, obviously, and I was just like, so I let it slide. But I was like, no, dude, like if I am not consuming, if I am a non-consumer for even 2 months out of the year, imagine the money saved, the reduced carbon footprint. And if everybody knew the lost knowledge of fasting, imagine grocery stores, restaurants with like the population going months sometimes without eating. If you add up the days, it would be a financial catastrophe. It
Yeah.
might collapse the whole world finances.
Most people don't realize that breakfast is the two words break fast.
Yeah.
And so if you look into it historically, we did not eat in the morning. Eating will fill your stomach, and filling your stomach with food actually kicks in your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest. And that's why people are so lethargic when they should be productive during the day, because they're preoccupied with food all day long.
Yep.
And what we know as our morning meal, breakfast, was actually a manufactured marketing ploy that was popularized by the cereal industry.
Yeah.
And they hired people like Bill Cosby to perpetuate this myth that breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And it is the most important meal of the day if you're looking for cereal manufacturing profits or pharmaceutical industry profits or medical profits. Then yeah, that's important that people eat breakfast. But if you're trying to be productive, you're trying to stay out of the hospital, you want to keep your body fat down into a healthy range, then and you want to be productive during the day rather than half asleep because you're trying to rest and digest, then in my opinion, breakfast is, or eating before noon is counterproductive.
So I always say eat when hungry. And once in a while, I do notice that, sometimes I am hungry in the morning. I'll eat. Sometimes my appetite's bigger and I'm eating 2 meals. And sometimes I'm not hungry for 3 days. So I just go because I know that my body is I'm not getting missed signals from carbohydrates and stuff like that, stoking up my appetite. Did you lose a little weight? Are you leaning down a little for summer, or no, not even? Maybe you have more sun. There's something that looks younger on yours. Did you lose? No,
well,
you haven't purposely.
A little bit, but not much. I'm about to start doing some extended fasts to start getting ready for my summer vacation to Florida.
Cool.
But
it's
probably the haircut.
I'm at 176, so I'm pretty happy with that. But I was 180 when I first lost all the weight, and I looked good at 180. I was like happy. And now, because of the spine surgery, my body composition is lacking a lot of muscle, and I'm like 176, and I'm still like grabbing some fat like on my side. Like, my goodness. But I mean, this is the weight I was at 170 when I was about like 16, 18. So that's exactly what I was trying to tell the guy. I'm like, look, man, I'm hardly eating compared to what you guys do days sometimes, and I feel great. Seems like my body is self-run. There's no issues with food. I'm saving tons of money. This is more ethical. And the fact that this guy says, all that, and your 2 deaths, forget about that. I'll stick to my 1,000 wild animals. So you want, you know what? I'll leave you with the stream and let you finish up whatever you need to do. And I'm gonna listen to you instead of being up here.
Yeah, I've got work to do outside, okay. So this actually wasn't scheduled.
No, I know. Cool. I'm out of here then, JD.
Okay, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for coming on. Enjoyed it.
You too. Enjoy the day.
Let's see. I'll answer this question right here, then I'll go. It says, Garland, do you think there's a chance Joey Carbstrong is vegan because he's filled with guilt and shame over his past? I don't think that. I actually do not believe his official story about his past. I think that he is a hired. He's a hired activist. I think he's paid very handsomely for his activism, and I think that's what motivates him. That's just my personal belief. I hope someone got something good out of today's broadcast. I thank you all for showing up. We'll do another one very soon. Love you all.